Hello Houston, this is Jason Hammond, the Science Outreach Manager and the Life Science Manager here at the Children's Museum Houston, here to bring you a brain break brought to you by Texas Children's Hospital. Hello friends, we are days away from Halloween, and today I thought I would talk to you a little bit about the human brain. The human brain is a very special organ inside your body. First question you might be asking yourself is this: what is an organ? Well, an organ is a group of specialized tissues that do a specific function. In this case, your brain is made up of many billions of neurons, and your brain controls everything else within your body. So that is the specialization in which it does. It is responsible for all your emotions. It is responsible for all your movement. It is responsible for all your sensory input. It is responsible for all your environmental input, what you're looking at and how you perceive those images. It's all doing that all the time. Never rests, never stops. Even when you're asleep, your brain is very active. Now, when scientists first started studying the brain, they were a little bit in the dark about what each part of the brain does. Now scientists know that the brain is divided into different parts. There is the frontal lobe, there's the occipital lobe, there's the parietal lobe, there's the temporal lobe, there's the cerebellum, and there's the midbrain, which is also the brain stem. Because they know these different things, using fancy technology, they can go right into the brain, study these different parts, and know like, oh, if you're having a problem with some sort of movement, they'll look at the part of the brain that controls movement and see if there's any damage to that. That's exactly what they can do now with CAT scans and MRIs. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and model a brain using 6 different Play-Doh colors. But before we do that, we might as well look at all the different parts of the brain and understand what each one does. The frontal lobe controls movement. It's also where our conscience is. The parietal lobe controls the sensory, touch, smell, etc. inputs of the body. The occipital lobe controls primary visual cortex of the brain. The temporal lobe controls sensory input, visual, auditory, language recognition, etc., and long-term memory. The brainstem, which includes the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata, helps with conduction, cardiovascular control, respiratory control, alertness, and awareness. The cerebellum coordinates and regulates muscular activity. And one half of the brain mirrors the other half of the brain, and that is the cerebrum. It controls sensory processing, movement, smell, learning, and memory. One really cool fact about the cerebrum: the left side of your cerebrum controls the right side of your body, and the right side of your cerebrum controls the left side of your body. So here I already started part of the brain, and what you're going to need to complete this brain are 6 different colors of Play-Doh. As you can see, I've already used yellow, blue, and green. You can use whatever color you want for whatever part of the brain. Your frontal lobe does not have to be yellow. Don't worry about that. You're also going to need an address label, or 6, or 12. You're going to need a ruler. You're going to need scissors. You'll need a paper plate or a regular plate, or just something that you can build your brain on. You're going to need some straws and something to write with. A pencil or a marker is really good, but you can use whatever you want. Colored pencil, crayon, whatever. You're also going to need this sheet right here that you can download from our website that'll help you know which parts of the brains are which. So like we said before, you can already see that I made the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, and the occipital lobe. Again, you can choose whatever color you want. You want 6 different colors though, because there's 6 different parts of the brain that we're going to really focus on. The other 3 parts that we need to do are the temporal lobe, and we're going to need to do the cerebellum, and we're going to need to do the brain stem. Now, you can notice right here already that when I made these parts of the brain, I didn't just flatten Play-Doh down and put it down. I made these little twists and turns, these little folds. That's because your brain is folded. As you get older and older, and as you learn more and more, and as you become more and more mature, your brain will have folds in it. It's almost like it's storing stuff in that way. So I am not going to use green, blue, or yellow because I've already used those colors. I'm going to be using red for my temporal lobe. I'm probably going to use purple for the brainstem, and I'll use orange for the cerebellum. Now, the cerebellum and the brainstem are a little different, but because I want to finish up the lobes, I'm going to do the temporal lobe first, and you can see how I'm going to like roll the Play-Doh and stuff to make these little twists and turns. Okay, so now I'm going to do the cerebellum, and I picked purple. The cerebellum is a lot easier. If you remember looking at the graphic, it just looks like a little pocket of something sort of inverted. So it's much, much simpler. You just sort of get a good amount of Play-Doh, maybe flatten it a little bit. Not many folds, but there's some cracks. So if you have your Play-Doh cracking like this, that's really good. And you just kind of want to get a little bit of a curve to it, and then you just place it on and then flatten it out. And then the final pit will be the brainstem, which I'm going to use this orange for. The brainstem's a little bit thinner than the rest, so I'm just going to take some orange Play-Doh. I'm just going to go ahead and make it almost like when I roll it, maybe get a little bit of thickness in one area, a little less in another area, and try to maybe get it really thin down at the bottom, and just put it right there. And now you have yourself a nice little brain. So now you're going to want to label your brain. I'm going to choose the pencil to do this, and all you're going to do with that is just choose one of the parts you made. So I'm going to start with the frontal lobe, and you're just going to go ahead and write frontal lobe, and then write maybe a few things it does, but not on the same address label. Write it on a different address label. So I'm going to say controls movement. And then just set that aside. Grab yourself a straw. You can measure if you want. You don't have to. But if you want to measure it, you can see that this straw is about 7.5 inches. And if you divide that by 3, you can cut it into thirds if you'd like. Right now, I'm not going to do that math in my head. I'm instead just going to cut it one time in half, as close as half as I can, like that. And then I'm just going to cut it in half again. I get it. And then I'm just going to cut the other one in half again, so I have 4. All right. So now you have your 4 little flag poles, if you will. Just go ahead and grab this again. Take your frontal lobe, put it on one side. Take what the frontal lobe does, put it on the other side, and then connect them. So you have frontal lobe on one side, you have controls movement on the other. Bring your brain back closer to you, and then stick it on in. Now you have a flag. And you do that with the rest of them. Again, you have that printout that will help you do this. And here is your finished brain with beautiful colors, wonderful flags, and a nice visual to show your friends, your family, anybody, your cat, whoever you want to show. This is really great. After you make your brain, I would love to see pictures of it. Go ahead and share your brain models on social media. You can share it on Instagram, or you can share it on Facebook. That would be really, really great. And remember, your brain might be a little small. It's only 3 pounds or so, but it is the most important organ in your body, and it's the only organ that if any damage occurs to it, you need to get it fixed right away. So please don't damage your brains this Halloween. Please have a safe holiday, and we'll see you soon. Thank you so much.